It is my honor to introduce our first speaker for today, Dr. Celsa Pinto. Dr. Celsa Pinto is one of Goa's most prolific historians and researchers. She has completed her master's degree in history with a first class from the University of Bombay, after which she earned her PhD in Goan history from Goa University under the guidance of Teotonio de Souza. Her academic excellence earned her prestigious recognition early on, including the Calouste Gulbenkian Foundation Scholarship for Archival Research in Europe. She is an acknowledged historian of Indo-Portuguese economic history and has participated in Indo-Portuguese seminars held in Portugal, France, and Brazil. Initially, Dr. Pinto inspired minds as a history educator before transitioning into public service with the government of Goa. Her leadership culminated in her serving as the Director of Education for the government of Goa. Dr. Pinto remains an active force in research and authorship. She is the author of several definitive works. Her books have touched subjects ranging from Goa and Lisbon-based commerce in the Indian Ocean region to Goa-Brazil trade interactions, including her recent book, A Concise History of Goa. I welcome Dr. Pinto to the stage. I request our scientific officer, Srimati Gayatri Gatwal, to present Dr. Pinto with a token of our gratitude and appreciation.
I should like to begin by, in your minds, dear interns, please take this pledge that on this International Archives Day, the place where you are serving in the archives at the moment here in Goa, or any other archives of the world, please take this pledge in your mind, especially the one in Goa, that it is not just a record keeping structure or a monument, but it is actually the history of Goa, of Asia, and so forth. Please remember it. Don't think it's just a place of volumes. It's a place of history and a history of our land. I was told by the director of archives to speak about my journey. Next year, it would complete 40 years of my journey. And for the last 2 years, I've been going regularly, thrice a week, to the Goa archives. And therefore, I meet many of you all in the lift. And you might be wondering why this old hag here comes so often. But this old hag regards the archives as a very sacred place. At the moment, I'm working on another book. At home, I'm writing it. But in the archives, I'm researching for my next book. And so forth and so on. It will go till the very, very end. I'm still a pen and paper person, not with the laptop or with a tablet and so forth. I just love the pen. And I wish you to remember the significance of the pen. And therefore, as you do your internship, not conservation and preservation, please bring them to the scholars' room and let them see the volumes. I can help them if you wish. I'm told to speak first, according to the program, it's about the journey of the Goa archives. I'll say, I think it could be a little boring for today, and it could be also of significance for a PhD work to actually only study the Goa archives. It could be. I'm not saying must be. But I would like to, not for a short while, to speak about the journey of the Goa archives, but mostly about my journey with the Goa archives. 400 years back, 17 years back, we had celebrated the 4th centenary. Goa Archives had celebrated the 4th centenary of the institution. And so this year, last February, if I'm not wrong, we had the archives. I'm saying we because I think it's my home. We have completed 417 years. 417 years. Initially, it in Goa, with very limited manpower, nothing like the manpower of the Goa archives today, but still the Goa archives deserves much more manpower. I have to say that. With such limited manpower, way back in 1595, it was founded here in Goa. Just to keep the records, we are now calling it archives. That was a place to, and even the one in charge were known as keepers. They were attached to, maybe in Old Goa, to any to an institution, first at Old Goa, which today is known as Old Goa, then Siddhartha Goa, then it, because as you all know, because of academics, people had to move out, and so they went to Paneli, and finally, when they thought of Goa as as the capital, it came in 1795. So 595 in Siddhartha Goa, 695, I'm not a person of dates, 695 in Panali, and 795 in Panji or Panjab. Till that time, and even beyond, it was regarded, at least it is recorded like that. From whatever I have read, from the very short time that I have got, 1 or 2 days, and from this book, fortunately it is your book only, from your archives, that it was a place to maintain the records. Very limited place, very limited manpower. And yet, if you go through, and there are documentation from below, from, this is 595. Earlier than this, you still have it in our archives of the 16th century onwards. You just wonder. the details. You would sometimes think they are not required. How all of them they were preserved and preserved till date. Centuries and centuries of documentation preserved for posterity. I would like to remember it in the colonial times. Two were keepers. There were some others also who were keepers, but the first one was this man, Diogo the Coat. Another name that I wish to mention was Antonio Bucaro, was given the title actually of chronicler and archivist. Now, who is an archivist in your Goa archives? He is much below the director. Correct me if I'm wrong. Archivist. And imagine before that, the keeper. This is the keeper of volumes. And then came another name, our very own person from our very own land, Pandurang Pisurlikar, who raised it to under his tenure, it was raised to the level of archives, as it is known today, and who also got he got a title of curator. But he was the man. We do not know much. That's why it can be a subject of study. Just the Goa archives could be a subject. We do not know much about others besides the two names that I mentioned, that is Diogo the Coat and Antonio Bucaro. And there were others too. We don't know much of it. At least it is not within my knowledge of things. But Pandurang Pisurlikar is a name I'm sure all of you know. Is there anybody who doesn't know this name of the 1930s? Pandurang Pisurlikar? Everybody knows. A street in Panjim in Panji is named after this man. He raised the archives to another level with publications. Numerous publications he produced. And I'm surprised that his collection has gone to the Goa University with no malice please to the Goa University. It should have been with the Goa archives. He was a man of the Goa archives. His personal books, collections, papers, whatever he had should have been with the Goa archives. This in brief is what I say about that. Means after that, and okay, let me say something more of the archives. If I'm wrong, please correct me. The director is just below my eyes. Actually, the archives has two locations. One is the main location, which is at the moment in Counto House, but it also has the Daulat repository. And together, the two, correct me again if I'm wrong, 2 lakhs of volumes. 2 lakhs. On all things under the sun. From administration to economics to religion to everything. Socio-economic life, cultural life, less of culture, freedom movement, lots of things, trade, whatever. And the collections are numerous. I have to say that to know the collections, you must know this book. This is the Bible of the Goa archives, the Gita, the Quran. Everyone who goes to their archives in the scholars' room, you will see them with this book. I have 2 copies. 2. And because I'm afraid that I might lose. And I have not even touched the tip of the iceberg. With several, this is in alphabetical order, from A onwards, where the acentos, do Estado, acentos, the fazenda, the acentos, the câmaras, the municipalities, then whether many contratos, fianças, petições despechadas, so many. But to me, that in large numbers are 3 collections. Everybody knows about the Moções do Reino, at least by name. I have gone through not as an apprentice, but I think at that stage I was an apprentice or an intern. I went through the Moções, the reign of the period that I was studying, 1750 to 1850, twice. And the second time I made an index. It covers everything under the sun. Correspondence that were, actually going to Portugal, but there are copies of that coming from Portugal also attached. They were on administration, on trade, on religious orders, on missions, on everything. If you want to start with the archives, you should start with the Moções. I think about 600 volumes or 4, less than 500. I thought it could be more. And I'm planning to start with, as I said, I have read just that period, 1750 to 1850. Because I will come to what I was working on in my PhD days. A very vast collection, but it's a collection. It's unbelievable to us Goans, at least, who are not exposed to the archives. Unbelievable. Now let me tell you how I reached the archives. When I completed my MA in 75, my professors, because I got first class first, never anybody got first class before me from Bombay University. Whether it was Professor Shastri or Professor K. M. Matthew were after me to do my PhD. I said, I have 2 limitations. And one is I have no knowledge. I come from, my parents used to speak in bit amongst themselves in Portuguese, but at the cost of the rod, I was told not to speak either Portuguese or Konkani to them. I was born in Karachi, Pakistan, and and for 13 years I lived there. The purpose of my mother was that mothers have their own, and all parents have their own thinking about their children. Look at those who speak English in our building, because they were Goans. They were Goans, and even a Muslim Goan and a Hindu Goan in my building, Raikard. I had gold also with me of the Raikards. So she said, look at their accent. They speak Konkani. They not so much Portuguese, but they speak. Look at that. I don't want you to have that accent. She didn't. My mother didn't know that you could be a linguist. This is not necessary one language. So she brought me up firmly with English, and I created such a psychological, because I am a product of the rod, being an only child. She created such a this in me that my Konkani as well as Portuguese doesn't go in Goa beyond words and phrases. Yet, I'm very proud, and I give a pat on my own back, that how from a stage when you didn't know Portuguese, you can translate the documentation. And even one of my last books was that I translated a book written by one of our great Goans, Bernard Parish de Silva. Everybody has heard about the BPS club, but they don't know what BPS stands for. Bernard Parish de Silva. Our first Goan in the parliament, along with two others. He was the first, and five-time parliament, a work which I'm going to produce in the future about the man, because I feel he's an ignored man. He's ignored by us. So the issues were these. The limitations were these. Tell me when time is up. Huh? So I didn't know the history of Goa at all. Though I had a master's degree, never ever taught the history of Goa in school or while doing graduation or while doing post-graduation. And so we had different papers on Latin America for MA. Latin America, constitutional history of Britain, about China, about Japan, about 100 marks paper only on Shivaji, from birth to death. So, but nothing on the history of Goa. All that I knew. I finished my MA in 75, as I said. All that I knew, that our first Albuquerque conquered Goa in 1510. That's the only one statement I knew. Why say so? And this is to the interns. From nothing, you can make yourself something. I knew no history. I knew very little Portuguese. I could just understand a little bit of what my parents used to speak. Amongst themselves, it might have been a code language, but I used to understand their code language. With that, these two teachers of mine, they were after me to do my PhD, and I was saying no. No, no, sirs, I will not be able to manage. Then everything has been actually accidental in my life. And this has been, PhD has been an accident. In 1984, there was in India Operation Blue Star. That is Indira Gandhi's rule and her fight with the Khalistanis. And I was teaching in Chogle College, Margao. I was asked to be one of the presenters, part of the symposium like this, to present on the historical aspect of Operation Blue Star. So I started, the only place I would get the information was the Central Library. I went there and I saw two young, one a lady, I think both were ladies, one from Bengal and one from Delhi, doing their PhD on some aspect of Goa. That was a turning point. I said, if they could do, what is the hesitation on my part? Turning point. From that day, for 1.5 years, I studied the history of Goa. I never studied before. It looked as if I was doing a course in the history of Goa. I'm sure you all interns are relating to history, I hope. Yes or no? Anyone who's not connected with history here? All are connected. Good. Because and with this turning history of Goa, I read everything and anything available in the Central Library. I used to read there before proceeding for my lectures, Margao, from Panjim to Margao, for I must know what I'm going to do. No? So I had 2 themes in mind. I'm not going to tell you because I chose my guide. And my guide didn't favor those themes. My guide, as I already told you, PhD guide, was Theoton R. de Souza. Dr. Theoton R. de Souza, the former director of Xavier Center of Historical Research at Porvorim. He said, no, these 2 themes, he says, it's not for PhD. And he gave me some 4 themes, and those 4 themes were all were economic themes. And actually, I had an aversion for economics. So when he gave me that, I didn't actually sleep over those topics. I slept. But I started the other process of learning Portuguese. And I first went to Antonio de Menezes. And usually they will emphasize on grammar and all. All that was absolutely useless for the archives, I'm telling you. But one tip that he gave me made a big role in deciphering. He said, see, about 60 to 70% of the English words are very similar to Portuguese. Suppose, transportação, transportation, circulação, circulation, comércio, commerce. I said, okay, so that tip remained with me. And then, with I want you to keep that tip in your mind. Historical sense and that tip helped me. That context, historical context, and the tip helped me. So, he gave me the, I slept over it. I slept over those topics at least. And then I went back to him. So what have you decided? If I don't know how many of you know him. He was not, he was a very tough guide to be under. So he told me, what have you chosen? So I said, I said, you're not fit for research. you're, you're not fit for research, he told me. He gave me another topic. And I said, with this topic, you go immediately to the Goa University. Goa University came into existence by that time. And registration was immediately with fees. Register yourself with this topic. I will give you a letter of recommendation as per rules and register. And what was the topic? Such a lengthy topic, which some of the things even after 1.5 years reading of the history of Goa, I had never come across that. Portuguese India and its country trade in the late 18th and 19th and late 18th and early 19th centuries is the title of my thesis. Oh God, in my mind, I said, okay, I've chosen the guide. Never mind the topic. I'll try. I'll try to see what I can do. So I went, I registered, and you told me, come back and show me your registration. So you can imagine what type of guide. I don't know if some of you are guides here, maybe. I don't know whether you should also adopt that or shouldn't. So I did. Then he said, okay, now you've entered the field. But I said I still lack knowledge of knowledge of Portuguese. Do one intermediate. You went to Anton Menezes. What did you learn from him? I told him something. Then I learned this, that. So he said, now you do the intermediate course. And who were with me in that group? Dr. Pratima Kamath and some others. And we were actually fighting for the class. And Dr. Pratima is such a person, She has to win. She had to top the list. And I think even with a sister, I hope it reaches her also. Even with the sister, she was so competitive. She would be competitive. So let it be. She was first class, I was second class, some others also were second class, and third for some with first class. Then Dr. Chodan D'Souza told me, brought me a whole, in the library of Xavier Center, whole lot of books on country trade. Within 2 months, I want you to write an essay on country trade. After 2 months is too much for me. Means I'll manage. I wrote, you've understood country trade. Now you have to go. Now I want to contribute to a publication that he was bringing, and it was to be based on archival records. My goodness me. I did not know what to do. And I'm not the type actually just to sleep over things. But mentally, the mindset was such, the fear that was created, and I'm sure there is fear even till today. You interns are afraid to come into the scholars' room, I'm sure, and have a look at least at the pages. Take them sometimes, please, to the scholars' room and show them some pages. Yeah, to be afraid. And that fear was, I had it with me. And he had given me 3 months for that essay. I didn't do it. Again, he told me, you are not fit for research. And he brought my confidence down from 100 to 0. And so I was so upset. At that time, the world cricket match, 1987 was going on. It was vacation time. 2 months I learned cricket, watching things on television, but I just couldn't go to the Xavier Center, just couldn't look at any book of history. So much my confidence had gone down to. He told me, you know what the Russians do? The Russians send their athletes to the Olympics. You don't bring gold medals, you will have to face the firing squad. So, so he was that type of person. I didn't go, and he also didn't contact me. 2 months learned. But I had a colleague in Chogli College. She had done her doctorate in economics, and she was a friend of mine, Dr. George. She was from Kerala, and she said, Celsa, what is this? Get out of this kind of mindset. Get out of it. How to get out? Then came the Goa. The Goa Archives local history seminar, 1 year is organized by the Goa Archives. Another year it is organized by the Goa University. We have this kind of practice from 1986. So I think that year it was this. So what to do now? I don't know any Portuguese. I went one fine day to the archives. He gave me a list of some collections to be read. But everybody was talking about Mossa in the Rain. I thought I'll also ask one volume of Mossa in the Rain. There was a lady, very, very strict there. I won't mention her name, please. I'm too frightened to mention her name because she was so very strict. The big hall there, next to Fundação Orient, yeah? Near People's High School. Yes, near People's High School. Their big hall, crowd, such a crowd of people. I thought, oh God, so many scholars. So many scholars, and now I have to read amongst them. And I took the Mossons. My goodness me, I couldn't follow anything. But I didn't waste my 1 hour only I had because I had to go to Margao. So I took down a paragraph and I went home. I went to my father, he would help me. So I said, oh, please, just translate this. He said, I can just translate a little bit. I can't understand this Portuguese. He told me, I cannot understand. And now if he could not understand who was speaking Portuguese, he told me, you go to your uncle, that means his younger brother, who was, maybe more well-versed in Portuguese. He also said the same thing. I said, what is to be done? I said, keep the dictionary aside. Keep everything aside. Just go on turning the pages. Turning the pages. Get acclimatized to the writing. Get acclimatized. And a scholar friend of mine, Ernestina Carrera, was around at that time. She told me, read like this. glance over the page. Don't waste time. You will automatically get the grip with your, that tip from you got from Anton Menezes and your historical sense, you will get the grip. And what she said was true. But the lady who was in charge one fine day, she told me, what is this? You're taking in 1 hour, you're taking 3 volumes. 3 volumes? That's not the way to read. I said, that's my way of reading. Because I'm going to, I don't want to see those people. I didn't tell her the truth. That I couldn't understand. I'm just getting acclimatized to the feel of the paper. That I am using paper of centuries and getting acclimatized to this. Meanwhile, I got also, I think I mentioned that local history seminar had invited me, and I decided how to get used to Portuguese now. The only thing is to get used to the English paleography, then go to the Portuguese. So I chose a topic. Anglo-Portuguese is the first paper of mine. Anglo-Portuguese Treaty of 1878. I went specially to Bombay. I finally went to Xavier Center. I'm saying, I'm ready to read. I have been invited by this, and I'm going to present a paper on this. I told Dr. Teoton. And so I went there, and for 1 month, I actually the Anglo-Portuguese Treaty aspects I read there. And I came back to the archives, and there is one collection, Estrangeiros. And in that collection, I found on Anglo-Portuguese Treaty, and it's in Portuguese. So that was the starting point. The purpose, and for that paper, at that time, there was a system, and you can revive that system. A debut paper was honored. And mine, there were 3 people with debut. Who's the best? He was given an award, like sort of an award. And I was chosen. And from across the table, Dr. Teoton sent me a slip of paper, well planned and well executed. I kept that paper for all the 5 years of my life in my bag. That brought my confidence from 0 to almost 100. And from that day, what is required is patience in the archives. Don't bother what you cannot read. Go on to the next page. Go on to the next page. And to me, many people go to the archives only when they have seen that, some citations in somebody else's book. I have gone Masson 1750 to 1850 page by page. And till today, I read page by page. And maybe I waste a lot of time. But I read page, may not read word by word. I can now know what it all deals with. So, but I'll start with the first page. It's not that. I want you, dear interns, to remember that from scratch, you can produce 10 books. You can translate from scratch. Only it's in the mind. You have a fear. I also had that fear. You have a limitation that you don't know Portuguese, but there are Modi scripts also there. Documentation in Modi scripts. Learn it, learn it. Remember that archives. I want you to remember that for me, the archives is a sacred place. Joy will understand how I come, and she must be wondering, because I do not return a volume. A volume is with me sometime for 1 month. With me for sometime more than a month. But that is the way I am about to complete 75. Please take these words, pieces of advice from an old hag, as I described myself earlier, and convert all aversions into obsessions. Not only the archives, any time in life, all aversions. Remember, economics was my aversion. Remember Portuguese, I actually hated the language. Because when I first came, my cousins and all were talking among themselves and ignoring me, as if, when you don't know, cannot speak in Portuguese, you're just ignored. So I began to hate the language. And I even remember writing an essay during the intermediate course, writing the essay. I actually used to hate Portuguese language, but I'm here for a purpose, and that is to learn to read the documentation, to write about certain aspect of history. So please, convert your fear. There is no such thing like fear. That is its mindset. Actually, there's no such thing. Sometimes you have certain fears, apprehensions, you may call them. And I hope, I think my purpose in coming, I think my purpose in coming is just to tell you, not just that the archives is not a place which is storing volumes. Archives is a sacred place. And I have done my PhD. If you go in today's archives, in Counter House, you will see that big hall with people talking loudly. I've done my PhD with such noise. When there was no scholar's room. With noise I have done. So that was the limit, not my limitation there. I remember one foreign scholar standing up and saying, "Shut up!" Telling all, because they are in the big hall, they come for land records, property records, birth certificates, death certificates, and only much later we got the scholars' room for study. Archival reading is study. There has been a tendency to think that archives is of no use. Let me tell you, it is evidence. Nothing else when you're dealing with history, nothing else is evidence. Everything else is interpretation. And one's interpretation can be different from another. Archives gives you. And I don't say it only depend on one archives. Go to Bombay, go to Bangalore, go to Calcutta, go to Delhi. For sure, go abroad. I went in September to Lisbon, and I was reading in the Archivo da Assembleia of the Parliament. I was reading in Biblioteca Nacional de Lisboa, the National Library of Lisbon. Earlier to that, I've gone 7-8 times to Portugal. I've been to Torre de Tom. And I don't talk in Portuguese. Because again, a psychological problem starting with my parents. And with starting with a society who not all, who corrects you the moment you speak every word. How will you talk when every word is corrected? I think people who talk English, we don't correct. the English of others. We don't. But therefore, when people tell me, you are reading in the archives and you don't know to talk Portuguese. Yeah, I said, see, I talk Portuguese only in Portugal because they are, it means they're so kind. Really, they are kind and warm-hearted. I'm telling you. Not that the Goa Archives has been very, very helpful to me, to Director Balaji. I owe much help to Joy. I owe much help. They have made things, I have, as you can see, visible problems. They have made things easy for me. With this, I end. I'm sure I crossed the limits. With these, I thought I would speak for 15 minutes. How much I took? 1 hour. Ah, thank God. But there was questions are afterwards. Now, okay. With this, I would like just like to questions very pertaining to really how you should overcome, how you should overcome your fears or anything about the collections. Yes, please tell. Is there anyone? Yes, Doctor. Yes, Mr. Sanjeev, friend of mine. Good morning.
It was very nice to hear you say that we have got amazing evidence documents in our archives. At the same time, you say that we have to do references at other places also, which is good. In Goa, we have got a pride, that is the Central Library, which is the oldest public library in India. Ma'am, how would you like to explain to me that 6 stories of books, 45% of Portuguese manuscripts and documents, and not a single staff over there who can read or write or speak Portuguese? How are the research students supposed to make use of the books over there?
I think this question should be directed to the authorities, no?
Yes, it should. No, but I'm talking about from the research point of view.
Yeah, I will tell you very clearly. I'll be very honest. I fully agree with you. A library should be a reader-friendly library. Archives, Joy is of great help to the public in the hall. Great help. And even others have been of great help to me in many other respects. You are quite right. You're quite right that staff that knows, at least one staff member should know they should know their collection. I have been telling this. Once upon a time, the libraries were under the education department, please. Yes. 2007 only it shifted to art and culture. And a library owes its existence to our department, I wouldn't say to me, because I was also state library officer. It's the manpower. It's essential to have. But let me tell you that when I go also to Portugal, sometimes in the archives there, because I speak in English, sometimes they have a little difficulty in understanding me. So because of that, you should not have fear. I say there should not be fears. I fully agree with you that there should be some, but you have to do your work. Don't expect the staff to do all the translations for you. You get your copies if you want and get them translated outside. And Central Library has got, I would have spoken about the role of Central Library, but that would take another hour. So I didn't. So since this is Archives Day, you're absolutely right. But there are many other problems. Even the archives is facing problems. See, if you go to the archives, I don't know, the other day somebody said, I have complaints. They were not complaints, they were suggestions. I'm not going to say what those suggestions are. But one suggestion is that in that small room for the scholars, there is no AC. And it's a packed room, huh? No window. But beautiful view of of the various villages, Chimbel, Santa Cruz, Bamboli, and all, which sometimes I take a break, look there, rub my eyes, go back, because really it's not a joke to sit in the archives, no joke. Sometimes you have to read that 3-4 times. You have to read it 3 to make sense. There are problems. Even in archives, there are problems. Foreign scholars will complain because they have one thing is online, but I'm not here now to say that things are not online. Please expedite that. Then, a second thing, the room is too small for scholars. And there can't be group discussion there. So these are things, but I'll tell you, if I have done my PhD in noise, that is heaven. I tell you, that's heaven. So, have I answered your question, Mr. Sarsasai?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
Anyone? I would like an intern to ask. You see, you must overcome your fears, I'm sure in colleges and all, you're having seminars and all. Overcome your we are all your friends, don't worry. We are here to, whatever little we have. You.
No, ma'am.
Yes, come.
Ma'am,
Yes,
as a young PhD scholar, when we deal with a topic with a vast sources and archives being a source which gives you diverse material, so how to maintain a consistency or do a indexing or systemization of the sources which come across for a better understanding?
please
Or
give me an example.
for example, Moshe is the Reno or
Which?
Moshe is the Reno for example.
Mossange.
Okay, wherein you find a data on a multiple level and it deals with a trade, and sometimes your topic is such that it has a multiple facet to deal with, not just with the tradition or cultural point of view, but also with the economic point of view too. So how to do an indexing or how to deal with that vast material?
See, as I just told you, don't want to use them as keywords. You have trade, commerce, commerce. You know that all this is on commerce. Let me see. Suppose I am dealing with Brazil. Let me see if there's any, anything on Brazil here. Like that. Suppose you're dealing with transportation. Let me see if there is anything on transportation here. Many words are the same. I'm telling you. And only sometimes you have to read it several times. When we have little knowledge of I have little knowledge of Portuguese, then you have to read it whether it is future tense or past tense or something like that. Have I answered your question or still not? You're not to this?
Along with this, answered partly, but my another thing was how to deal with a source, meaning many sources, and how to put them into an index manner.
I'm sure your guide must have told you how to do it.
But ma'am,
No, but I will tell you what my experience. We had a card system. Okay? We had a card, and suppose this is a card. There was a margin here, and upper part was a margin. Okay? A square box here. Okay? In that square box, suppose whatever material you collect, suppose it is, what topic you want to give me? Give me any topic.
About a trade.
So tobacco. Suppose about tobacco. You write your tobacco and the year in that square. That is my old method. This is year. Then in this upper space, you write the name of the series, volume number, and folio pages. And like this are these two margins. And in this space, the matter. You know what I do now? I'm not using cards. You must have seen me using pages. I do the same thing, but this time it is pages, unruled pages. I don't use the back because I had a file up. I don't use the back of it. I'm still with pen and paper. I'm still with the old system. Thank you very much.